Hey. ABX, man, I need me a feature. ABX, can you get on this song? ABX, man, shut the fuck up. I just want all you people to leave me alone. ABX, man, I need me a feature. ABX, can you get on this song? ABX, nah, I ain't even got it. Where was you when I did all this shit on my own? Lately, baby, mama been tripping. After all of this shit she been getting. Made a baby, she still in her feelings. Went through my phone and seen all of these women, not knowing that I could care less about these bitches. I'm topping, why these niggas mention the biggest? Watching me when they could be getting richer. Probably mad cause they can't meet the six. I done lost all the love that I had. Think about lil' bro and I start getting mad. How the fuck did you say you knew what type of nigga I was when all I did was give you a chance? I'm the one bought you all of them shirts. I'm the one who bought you all them pants. I'm the one who took you off the streets and gave you a place to come lay your head. ABX, man, I need me a feature. ABX, can you get on this song? ABX, man, shut the fuck up. I just want all you people to leave me alone. ABX, man, I need me a feature. ABX, can you get on this song? ABX, nah, I ain't even got it. Where was you when I did all this shit on my own? They say the more money, more problems, that's facts. Everybody gon' speak even if the shit cap. Where was all of these folks with opinions and shit about living this shit when I used to sell crack? See, nobody care when you doing down bad. I came up from the money, may have to wear man. Now they all want some clout in a piece of the bag. It's too bad, no, the fucks left me out on my ass. I know you remember you left me, I said shit. I know you remember X broke with that flag. I bet you remember me turning up bad. Now I'm lit nigga dissing, I'm paying the tab. 3 years I got rich off of rapping my past. Now I'm rapping about pain in my hurt. Don't think I'm a pussy get put on the shirt. In the hearse like 6 feet deep in that dirt. ABX, man, I need me a feature. ABX, can you get on this song? ABX, man, shut the fuck up. I just want all you people to leave me alone. ABX, man, I need me a feature. ABX, can you get on this song? ABX, nah, I ain't even got it. Where was you when I did all this shit on my own?
Let's talk about everything so I can give it some closure. Way before the Grammys, Billboard charts, and I was riding around the local. Let's talk about how we done came up and they tried to fold us. Roddy really anti, they took it personal. What the fuck was I supposed to do? I've been going through child support. A good daddy, I vouched for it. She just want a new mouth for. Fuck around, fell out with some of my homies, having too much pride. And they can't even say I ain't tried. Oh, why? Imagine if I had $1 for every time you say I fell off, I'd be a billionaire. I was blinded by survivor's remorse, I was supposed to build, yeah. Still solid, still here. Still home, I done stepped on base. Pride myself off the progress of being off coding, I promise it's so hard to shake. Right, you wealthy, right, you golden, right, you built for this. Right, be tight, everybody opinion behind the closed doors, you can feel the shit. Switch on this Glock and this Maybach extended. FA to ride, the Lambo invented it. Bitch, I'm the heart of the trench, I still talk shit with my dogs, independent tip. Put up the numbers, we earn at the label. Hundreds on nights, put food on the table. You ain't heard shit from the clubhouse, cause the Chris probably violated them. Every nigga stop dogs and they chase, yeah, yeah. Doggy got the double murder, still got action, yeah.
We're live. Sorry, I forgot to count you in.
It's off the track. It's Eastern Conference Finals, Jet. It's 3-2 home court advantage, Rafe. We're back and we're not leaving. You know, what's going to be really intriguing is this John's got to end some point, you know, and there's only so much more winning that our teams can do before collide.
True. That is, yeah, I guess that is a good
You
point.
know, and
Hopefully we both get there. There's still games to be played. I'm not going to take, there's still games to be played. I'm going to slow the roll on behalf of myself. But
Right.
yeah, I'll allow you to take your little, Eastern Conference Finals. That's big.
back to back
Yeah.
as well. Listen, man. If that happens in the event that I'm not looking ahead past the Eastern Conference Finals right now. I'm looking
Sure.
right now for the next 4. But in the event that the Thunder and the Pacers face off in the Finals, dude, I'm not talking to you.
Yeah,
I'm not talking to you. At
I
all.
understand. It's high emotion. I'm still coming down from whatever kind of ride that was I just went on.
Let's talk about this ride here, and let's take these off for a moment. Oklahoma City 112, Denver Nuggets 105. Listen, I want to make my point here, and I'll let you make yours. This game, I said it's going to come down to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Is he going to be a killer? And for a moment there, because I was like, listen, go score 35, go hit a few threes. For a moment there, not looking to be like, Lou Dort saving your season right now. But man, he scored 8 of their last 12 points right towards the end. Kind of that last 4 minutes of basketball, last 3 minutes of basketball. It was just kind of fun as a fan to sit here and just watch Jokic and they go back and forth with each other. At the end of the day, I think that's what we're all asking for anyways. We just want to watch, maybe not you. Obviously, I know what you're asking for. But, for me, and bias in this, just seeing that good basketball being played. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander tonight, I thought he was a killer. In that game, he put this game away. And am I lagging, by the way?
Yeah, a little bit. I was going to tell you when you finish up your point. I don't know if reconnecting will help but yeah, it's kind of bad.
Do I need to re-say my entire point here?
You heard most of it, but it's not great.
Well, I'll say this, and I'll double up on it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he was a killer tonight. Like I said, he needed to be. 31 points. He only knocked down 130, but it was the dagger. So can't really say anything. I'll turn the floor over to you.
Yeah, it was a very different game from other games in the series where, the Thunder kind of controlled most of the game, and then in the games that they lost, Denver came back in the fourth quarter, and would turn the tide and shift momentum. It was pretty much the opposite of that. Denver had control for most of this game. Thunder came out to a blistering start, got a 10-point lead, and then after that timeout, the Nuggets rallied back and they kind of held on to control. Thunder made a couple runs, but the Nuggets held on to the lead for really the rest of the game until that fourth quarter. It's funny, we were talking about how Lou Dort, it was looking like maybe he doesn't have a spot in this series, and of course, he hits 3 huge threes in that fourth quarter. That's whenever momentum really felt like it was starting to shift in the Thunder's way. But kind of the points that you were making, it finally felt like kind of the series we thought this was going to be heading into this game of just 2 MVP caliber talents. Jokic had an unbelievable game. Shai had a great game as well, and really came alive there late to help the Thunder take the lead and take the win. It was a huge win. Obviously, it's a huge win. This was a huge Game 5 swing game. I still think there's a lot of room for improvement for this Thunder team in this series. Obviously, Game 6 isn't going to be any cakewalk or any kind of easy game, especially if Jokic is coming alive now, which it looks like he is. So the zone still gave them a lot of trouble. They were able to hit enough threes tonight to overcome that. I don't anticipate Denver shifting out of that defense any. They're still going to play a lot of heavy zones, so it's still going to come down to making shots. Hopefully they're able to do that. What I want to look for, though, from OKC is generating looks elsewhere within that zone whenever the shots are falling, because I think that's going to have to play a factor. They did a good job. There was a couple times with Chet or Hart in the dunker slot there when they were able to attack Jokic in the middle of that zone and kind of pull him up. They found some opportunities there. I think there's some opportunities, weak side drives from J-Dub as well. Hopefully they can exploit those a little bit more and make things easier for them, but it was a huge win, and I'll leave it at that for now.
About how Jokic had really, he hadn't had that game yet in series. He had that game tonight, and one of the reasons we talked about that was because of the fact that the Thunder are going to have to brace, specifically Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to have to be ready for this, and he's going to have to answer back. And it wasn't always pretty at times, but he answered back tonight, and he performed at a really high level when he needed to do the most. And Nikola Jokic, 44 points, 15 rebounds. He knocked down 5 threes, including the unbelievable 3 there to tie the game at 103. It's really funny how you're watching that. And we talked a little bit about this before we went live. Is when he had the ball there at the logo and the shot clock was at about 9-10 seconds. I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, he's going to do the thing again. He's going to just hit the crazy shot. And he did. But the point is, Nikola Jokic played, I mean, it's going to be tough for me to see him playing a better game than this in this series. And the Thunder handled it. And they come out with a win. They had the crowd behind them. And I was really impressed by that Nikola Jokic came out and played the way he did. And the Thunder still were able to come out with a 7-point victory.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from this game that you can take right now is, Jokic had an unbelievable game. Murray had some great quarters, some great minutes for the Nuggets. And Brown hit a couple outside shots. Porter kind of a no-show tonight, but there was it was a big game from Jokic, a pretty good game from Murray, and the Thunder were able to weather that storm, especially kind of playing down pretty much the entire game. It was a huge gut check win and a huge swing game for the youngest team in the NBA, and people like to bring up their youth, and I think it was a huge step forward for them. I'll take it back to last year, pretty much the exact same situation, round 2 for OKC. A game 5 swing game at home against Dallas. They lose that game, and then I don't have to remind a whole lot of Oklahoma City fans about what happens then in game 6 in Dallas. So a huge step forward for them. They have to take advantage of it. They have to continue and obviously try and win game 6. If not, move on to game 7 and try and take that one. But you're in a much better position this year than you were last year, and that's huge.
It's kind of a talking point that I want to bring up as well is with this game 6 being in Denver. There's a very real possibility that this game is going to happen again. And what I mean by that is you're going to play a game 7 where it really feels like it's do or die. I kind of felt like tonight, like you said, you had a big game 5 last year that the Thunder were on the losing end of. This felt like a real do or die game tonight. And should things probably go the way that they're going to be projected to go, the Thunder will probably actually be favored for game 6. But I think there's going to be a lot of people that take Denver. So I don't know if I want to ask, how do you go into Denver and win in game 6, or how do you kind of replicate this performance in front of a home crowd should this go to a game 7?
Well, I think it starts with Shea, as we've been saying really this entire time. If he's able to, I'll say that whenever he started to get going in the fourth quarter, it felt like regular season Shea Gilgeous-Alexander again, which I feel like we haven't really seen this entire series. So that was like, it was comforting in a way to see that as a Thunder fan, and probably for the rest of the team too, to see that and to see those shots finally start to fall in spots that he normally takes. I'm sure as a fan who maybe hasn't watched the Thunder the entire season or hasn't watched a lot of Thunder games, and you see some of the shots Shea are taking, yeah, they're tough shots. He's settled for some tough shots, but he's made a lot of those shots throughout the regular season as well. So, I trust him, and I think it starts with him. I keep going back to the outside shooting because of the defense that Denver plays and how they pack it in, and they kind of force Shea to go to the spots that they want him to go to. And force the ball into certain hands of certain guys that they want the ball in the hands of. So I'd like to see the Thunder kind of take control and dictate the offense the way they want it to be ran, rather than letting Denver kind of dictate the offense for them, which it felt like they did a lot for a lot of possessions in this series and for most of the game in this game. It's not going to be easy in Denver. It's not going to be an easy Game 7 either, even though it's at home if it gets to Game 7. So, I look for them to try and close out in Game 6, obviously, if you can. I don't think that happens, especially with Jokic coming on the way he's coming on, and just an unbelievable game. I have no doubts in my mind that he follows it up with another great performance. And if Murray's going the way he was going tonight, they're going to be a tough team to beat, especially if they get a little bit more production out of some other guys. So it's not going to be easy, but I think the biggest thing for the Thunder is dictating their offense for themselves rather than letting the opponent dictate it for them.
They just looked like a really mature team late in the game tonight. The Thunder did. I talked about it. I believe it was before Game 4, if not at Game 4, about how this team has shown maturity at times, but other times it just showed it doesn't know how to win yet. But when Jokic hit that 3 to tie it at 103, I mean, the crowd just absolutely was seemingly taken out of it. And then you have Jalen Williams come down and hit a big-time 3. The crowd gets back into it. Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein play phenomenal defense on the other end of the floor. Then you have Shea come down to hit the 3, and that was ultimately the dagger. This team looked mature tonight. I was impressed by that. For Denver, how do you bounce back? And now you've got to go win 2. One of them has to be on the road at a Game 7 in a ruckus environment that you played in tonight. And you really controlled for a good portion of this game, ultimately falling apart at the end. For Denver, you've got Jokic going, but really no one else had it tonight. What do you have? Where does the mindset go for Denver moving into a obviously must-win Game 6?
Yeah, I mean, it becomes a bit of a steep hill to climb for them, but it's not impossible, and it's not like it can't be done for them. I think, looking back at this game, even though you lost, you feel good about where you were at. I think they started to settle for some jump shots a little bit. They weren't really forcing much into the paint. I felt like both offenses got their best shots, their best looks, and were most productive whenever they were able to get to the paint first within the possession. And that just opened up everything for everybody. And I thought, the Nuggets kind of settled a little bit. It wasn't that they were taking bad shots, but they weren't forcing the issue in the paint like they were earlier, and helping them build out a lead. So, that's maybe a talking point in the locker room of, hey, we were right there. We just got to finish better. It's been a back and forth series. No team has won. Well, now the Thunder have won 2 games in a row. Before that, no team had won 2 games in a row. So, it's a huge back and forth series. I think you just keep your guys locked in. They've proven they can beat this Thunder team. It's a doable hill to climb. It is a hill to climb now, but it's a doable hill to climb. I don't think it's necessarily panic mode, even though you're now, like you said, obviously in a must-win situation.
Thunder Nuggets in Denver. That game will be played on Thursday, 8:30 Eastern time, 7:30 Central Time tip. I mean, going to be a big time matchup, obviously. This series has been really entertaining. Another series that wasn't as entertaining, but maybe for the boys in Indiana, because in 49 states, it's just basketball.
That is true. I do have to concur there.
But in Indiana, it just means a whole lot more. Indiana Pacers 114, Cleveland Cavaliers 105. The number 1 seed. Hopefully for your sake, this is the only time that I get to say this for a while. The number 1 seed has fallen. 64 wins. They lost 10 games at home this season. The Cleveland Cavaliers did. Now, granted, half of those were to the same team. I don't know. Can't think off the top of my head who it is. But, I tell you what, these glasses make me look like the cop from Lego Movie.
Great movie.
The top 3 film ever made.
Absolutely.
That's what the streets are saying. Listen, man. A rough start. I would admittedly miss the first quarter of this game. I had made prior commitments to play basketball. And yeah, I missed the first quarter of this game. I checked my phone for the box score. Pacers were down 14. Donovan Mitchell had shot 8 free throws in the first quarter. I thought, oh boy, well, you got to win by 15 to win by 1. And I'll tell you this. I have never in my life seen a scenario quite like you got to win by 15 to win by 1. Then tonight, I felt like the Pacers won by about 25, felt like. They won by 9. So, you want to talk about killers. Let's talk about Tyrese Halliburton, okay? When things were not going the way of the Indiana Pacers and they were down 14, Tyrese Halliburton stepped up. He hit 6 threes tonight, 6 of 10. He hit 4 or 5 of them there in that second quarter. They willed their way back into a 4-point deficit at the half. This team right now is just fun to watch. I mean, I thought last year's playoff run was a ton of fun. This year's playoff run has been even more fun. What's really sucks about this. And I haven't said this yet because I didn't want to jinx anything. But I said last year after the Pacers eliminated the Knicks, I said, well, the Knicks are going to eliminate us in a much bigger spot next season. And starting to really feel like that might come to fruition, but a friend of the program, a friend of the podcast, said this tonight. He said to me, and I quote, Pacers beat the Knicks in 5. You could say that on the pod. That was our good friend Garrick Huber, Hubie the newbie.
Shout out.
Who said that to me. And he told me to say it on the pod tonight, so I told him I would.
Of course.
I'm not concurring with that.
That's just a quote. You're just reading a quote.
That's a quote. That is a quote.
Not from you. It's somebody else. Yep.
Right. This team, man, it's a special basketball team. They're 44-16 since the turn of the year, I think was, or whatever it is. I mean, this team is just on an unbelievable heater right now. And I'll tell you where, for me, it obviously starts with Halliburton, but this team is at its full potential. This team, let's just get these off for a moment. This team is at its full potential when Pascal Siakam is playing his best basketball. Struggled in the first quarter. He started turning up a little bit. 21 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 for 5 from the 3-point line, 8 of 20 from the field. This team operates at its best when Pascal Siakam is playing good basketball. If he can just figure out and find a little bit of consistency, the ceiling is the roof with this team. I absolutely love what I saw from him. Love what I saw from Nembhard tonight, who I really think has struggled at times in this series, but he had a few big shots, including one that put the Pacers back up by 4 late in the ball game. A lot of thoughts, a lot of opinions on this, Rafe. I'll take a breath here. What did you think here of this Game 5 for the Indiana Pacers?
Yeah, I've got a couple notes on this game. I think I'll start off. I'll actually counter you on the referee situation. I do think it was tilted slightly in the Cavs' favor. I thought I counted. I felt like there was 3 fouls that were probably shouldn't have been called on the Pacers. You know, in a normal play. So I thought they actually did a fine job. That's just my opinion. Maybe it's because I'm an outsider. I know things look a little different through the eyes as a fan. But I think if you do nitpick, it was slightly, you know, favored in the Cavs' way. But I thought they did a fine job. I don't think they had a huge impact on the game, as big of an impact as we were kind of anticipating. I thought there was a huge point in the game in the first quarter. Halliburton picked up 2 quick fouls. That the second one might have been one of the fouls that I noted down as maybe, I can't remember if that was one or not, but obviously the Pacers had to take him out. I was looking to see how they responded to that, and they only went down by 10 through that stretch, which I thought was huge, to not get down by too many points with Halliburton out of the game. They survived enough in that point. And then another thing that I noticed was it felt like the Cavs got pretty tight down the stretch. There was a lot of layups missed. Mitchell misses those 3 free throws, which fatigue might have played a bit of that, maybe a little bit of injury, but Mitchell looked dead tired by the end of this game. But you know, it wasn't just him. You know, there was layups missed, there was shots. It felt like a lid kind of went back on the basket for Cleveland. So you know, don't know if that's youth playing into that, or you know, first time, you know, being in this situation. Like I said, I've said this before. I don't really like to defer to that, but it could be something. But you know, you look at where the Pacers were, as you said, second year in a row going to the Eastern Conference Finals. It felt like they've been there before. They felt steady. Also, I felt Rick Carlisle brought back Halliburton at a perfect time in the fourth quarter. It felt like things were starting to shift a little bit. Right as soon as I said probably be getting Halliburton back in the game, it was right about the time he brings it back in. I thought it was perfect timing. And yeah, Halliburton had an unreal performance tonight as well. Really all around. I mean, the Pacers are good. I know people are going to point to injuries again, which is unfortunate. But I mean, you can't put that on the Pacers. I don't know how many times they have to prove it. They're a good team, and they're going to be a threat in the East, and they're going to be a threat to go to the finals. It's probably going to be the Knicks. It's going to be a good series.
You know, I'll say one more thing here, because my goodness, I'm excited. I don't have to ever watch, this season, I have to watch Donovan Mitchell shoot a freaking free throw the rest of the season. I've never in my life seen a guy score 35 points and he made 8 shots in the entire game. That's, I mean, the Pacers, a team, shot 22 free throws. Donovan Mitchell shot 21 on his own. So,
it does look bad. I understand.
But, yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can hammer that home. Listen, I would argue that the Cavaliers played a little bit better when they weren't even fully healthy. I mean, they almost took game 2. They played well in game 1. Game 3, they dominated fully healthy. Listen, you play who you play. And you know, the Pacers have played the teams that have been run out against them. I don't really understand what else they're supposed to do. I think they would have beaten a fully healthy Cavalier team. They absolutely dominated. They dominated the series. I mean, they absolutely belted them. Now, I'll say this about this game. You know, Ty Jerome has been getting a lot of flack through the first 4 games of this season. And one of my good friends, he is a Cavaliers fan, and going into the playoffs, going into the series, he talked a lot about Ty Jerome and how he's such a big impact player. And so he didn't do anything the first 4 games. I didn't talk any trash to him about it because I like, this is just going to come back and bite me. And he made a comment that Ty Jerome played his way out of a $100 million contract. This is worse than Dennis Schroeder. And then Ty Jerome comes in and hits 2 threes and got the crowd back into it. And I thought, oh my goodness, Ty Jerome is going to he's going to win this game for them right now. And this is not going to be good. Fortunately enough, though, kind of what I talked about a little bit with the Thunder, they looked really mature. Pacers look like a mature team, and they have all postseason. They have handled adversity very, very well. Game 1, they handled it well. Game 4, they handled it well, coming off an absolutely horrible loss tonight, where you know you very easily could have kind of just come out flat, and they did. They did come out flat. But Halliburton picks up the 2 fouls early. You could have very easily kind of rolled over a little bit, and they didn't. I mean, just absolutely, just a beautiful performance from Tyrese Halliburton tonight. It's so clear to me, who the best point guard in the East is. And I think he wears number 0, and I think he wore yellow tonight. Gold rather. I'll go out on that. I'll go out on that limb. He's led the Pacers to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. I'll bring up the agenda again. 31 points tonight. Really good minutes off the bench tonight from Thomas Bryant.
Oh yeah,
I'd be saying that.
What a dog! That fast break dunk he had. For a second, I transported back in time. I thought I was watching the Indiana Hoosiers. I was like, oh no, and then yeah.
He got to about half court. He was dribbling, and I thought, well, this can only end bad. He's gonna dribble this off his foot. But he come in and he hit a big time 3.
Yeah, huge 3 in the quarter, dude.
Yeah, he played great defense. Rick Carlisle said it tonight that he played about the greatest backup, or the greatest minutes a backup center can play. I totally agree with that. Top to bottom, this Indiana team, I don't really want it to come out of my mouth. So I'll just ask you. I mean, this Indiana team in the Eastern Conference Finals, it is looking like it's the Knicks. How do the Pacers match up with a team like New York? I mean, we saw it last season, but that was, totally different circumstances.
Different team,
Cal Bridges
too.
was not there at that point. Karl-Anthony Towns was not there at that point. How does the 2025 Pacers match up with the 2025 Knicks?
I think they match up pretty well. It feels like it's a fairly even matchup, honestly. You've got 2 studs who can take over a game at any time, in Halliburton and Brunson, and it feels like they're kind of on a collision course to have kind of what we saw with Brunson and Tatum were doing in that game, where Tatum unfortunately got hurt, where they were just throwing haymakers at each other. It feels like we're kind of destined to have a series of that between Brunson and Halliburton, which will be fun to watch. The supporting cast for both teams has shown up well in this last series. I think that's going to be a big emphasis on whose others show up better. I'll say, I mean, you can sit here and play the game of, do you like Nembhard over Bridges? Do you like Pascal Siakam over OG Anunoby? I think it's fairly evenly matched up, and I think it's going to be a really good series.
I'll say this. I see Nolan in the chat here. Nolan, listen, man, what was it at the beginning of this Cavs Pacers series for you, man? I kind of felt like it was a bit of an afterthought for you that the Cavaliers were winning, and look at you now. So Pacers move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Starting to look like, again, they will play the New York Knicks. Now, I will say, I'm taking a look here real quick at tomorrow, because the live stream tomorrow is pending. Reds play at 6:14. Live stream tomorrow night is potentially pending, depending on what time the Golden State, Minnesota, or what time I get back. So, but we'll go ahead and we will talk about these games. First up, New York Knicks and Boston Celtics. Both of these teams, not these teams, both games tomorrow, potential clinchers. I mean, listen, I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast this morning, and Bill Simmons, who is a Celtics fan, I mean, he literally just, I'm embodying every Celtics fan in him, and kind of just thinking that they have pretty much given up on not only this series, but next season as a whole. Celtics are still favored by 4.5 tomorrow.
Wow, that's shocking.
Is this? Yeah, I know. Is this series as good as over? And is it over in Game 5?
I mean, I won't bury the lead. Obviously Jason Tatum's out for a while, which is absolutely unfortunate. It sucks so bad. A report comes out today about the Celtics having to make moves, which isn't really a secret. The roster is getting fairly expensive. They're going to have to do something. Kind of feels like Porzingis is probably the odd man out right now. Maybe, I don't know if they'll make another move too or not, but it's going to be a new look Celtics team next year regardless. Now you add the Tatum injury on it, so I can see where Celtics fans are probably like, man, this is probably going to be rough. I would say they're still a playoff team next year. They still have a good roster around Jason Tatum. I would say a lot of that depends on how well Jaylen Brown is able to step up, and we'll get a little bit of a taste of that tomorrow. I think Jaylen Brown can do it and be a number one guy, yeah, but I don't know. I feel like it's such a turnaround of a different team and like a different game plan in such a short amount of time. It's going to be hard for the Celtics to do. I just see the Knicks walking into the Garden and closing out the series.
What's interesting about the Celtics, I was thinking about this morning, I had read a tweet or a report that the Celtics team, if they don't win it all this year, do you have me on my lagging?
A little bit, but I think you're good right now.
I read a report this morning, or not this morning, but I read a report or something that if the the Celtics don't win it all, Jesus. All right, let me recalibrate here. I read a report that if the Celtics don't win it all this season, that there was going to be some surprises. There was going to be some retooling. Do you think that at all changes now that Jason Tatum is hurt? Do you think maybe next season they kind of, you make a move or two, but you're just kind of bracing for Tatum to come back?
I don't think they're going to have to do something because of the CBA, and they're going to have to, move one of those contracts at least. So there's going to be some sort of big move. What it is or what they get in return. I mean, they're probably not going to get a huge star in return because then you're kind of in the same boat of, well, we've got a lot of money that we can't really pay. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know where you really go from here. It's still going to be a good roster. You're still Tatum whenever he comes back, hopefully as soon as possible, and hopefully he's back to the level that he was at. And then Jaylen Brown and you've got your supporting casts that are pretty good, and Derek White and Drew Holiday if he's still there, and a decent bench as well. So maybe, honestly, I think moving to Porzingis for more depth pieces could potentially make them a little bit better. So it's not. It's going to be tough regardless without Tatum for sure. I'm not going to disagree with that or kind of get around that or any kind of way, but it could be a positive. It may not look like it in the now, but could potentially be a positive for them.
So, I mean, I kind of feel, Celtics favored by 4.5. That does come as a bit of a shock, but Jaylen Brown, this opens up a lot of things. Jaylen Brown, I think can play a really good game. Derek White played phenomenal in Game 4. Drew Holiday has the ability to knock down some shots and get going. If they can just get a little bit out of Porzingis, if they can get a little bit out of Al Horford, I think the Celtics will be fine. I don't know. I don't think they're going to win this series. I do think that the Knicks will be advancing, whether that's in Game 5 or Game 6. I'm not really too sure. I would like to see the Celtics win this game just to extend a little bit, make the Knicks, who run a very short rotation anyways, make them have to play another game. But I don't know if I see that happening. I think the Knicks are hot right now, and they're getting hot at the right time. I don't think you were necessarily wrong not being high on this team team going into the playoffs. I just think they've gotten hot at a really good time. And, as much as it sucks, the Tatum injury helps them in a big way. And so when you're taking all that into consideration, I don't see how Boston pulls this off. I think the Knicks are going to go on the road, and I think they will end this series in 5. And I think you're going to see a Pacers-Knicks series for a chance to go to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Look, the Celtics don't have a terrible roster as is right now, and it's not crazy to think that they can win 1, maybe 2 games and possibly even push it to 7. It's just the thing is what we've seen from them in this series, the others outside of Tatum, it hasn't been promising, and that's why it feels so deflating to lose Jason Tatum, and it feels like, the series is pretty much already over. But it's not crazy to think that the Celtics, as is right now without Tatum, can win a couple games in this series. It's just we haven't seen the roster that we saw throughout the regular season and the playoffs last year really show up this year in this series anyway.
Right. I agree. Like I said, there are pieces there to win. They just haven't proven that they can. Looking to the Western Conference, another 3-1 lead. The third of the 4 series that been in 3-1 leads. Golden State down 3-1 to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota favored by 10.5 points. I kind of agree with every bit of that. I'm honestly almost surprised it's not a little bit more, especially the way Minnesota looked in the second half in the Chase Center on what's today? I guess yesterday was Monday. So I'm wholeheartedly looking Timberwolves here. I think that the Celtics, it wouldn't surprise me if the Celtics took a game or 2 and pushed it to 7, and maybe even they come away with it. I don't think that's going to happen at all. But I think this Warriors series, I think it's going to get put to bed pretty quick. How would your is that how you feel as well?
Yeah, I mean, just from what we saw from the Warriors without Curry, really just last game was kind of enough. I mean, will Jimmy come out and be more aggressive, be more assertive? I don't know. I think it would definitely help them. It would help their chances for sure. And again, we kind of talked about this too. It's not crazy to think that the Warriors could steal a game, have a couple guys get hot. They have the guys that could do that. But I feel like the Celtics could take a couple if their guys show up. The Warriors, I feel confident in them taking 1 maybe. Outside of that, it feels like this one is much more set in stone that the Wolves are going to take probably this game 6 and move on.
So would your mind change at all if the Warriors take this game 5 and it's 3-2 going back to Golden State and Steph Curry is available for the final 2 games?
I mean, yeah, obviously adding Steph Curry is huge. It definitely helps. That's why I think Minnesota probably realizes this is a real great opportunity to just close them out right now and move on. So, if they come out kind of with that mentality of, well, we got to win now, or let's win now, that'll help them a lot. I just don't see enough offensive firepower from the Warriors without Curry to make anything happen in this game, and that's why it feels like Minnesota probably wins this easily.
I'm totally with you here. I don't really think there's much more to talk about with this game and this series. I think Minnesota is going to sign it, seal it, and deliver it tomorrow, and they will be the first team to clinch a spot in the Western Conference Finals, pending what happens on Thursday and or Saturday or Sunday. What game is Game 7 going to be played if necessary?
I have no idea. I'm going 1 game at a time right now.
1 game at a time. We'll say 1 game at a time. We're looking
That's the mentality.
So I mean, Timberwolves. I don't want to talk necessarily as much as Timberwolves matchups in the Western Conference Finals yet, just because I think there's a long way to go yet. I'm sure you're there with me. There's a long way to go yet in the Oklahoma City and Denver series, but I do think tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern time, 8:30 local time, we are going to see the beginning of the end for the Golden State Warriors, and I think that it is time for the Warriors to kind of end it. I think that it's they kind of maybe made that first move last year by not bringing Clay back. I think that it's time to put this thing to bed. It was a fun dynasty. It's Golden State has been relevant for the last decade plus. Growing up, hated the Warriors. I totally appreciate Steph Curry now, but back then, not at all. Hated him. Hated seeing him win all the time. It's kind of sad though, knowing that this is kind of potentially last game of our generation's Warriors with Draymond Green and Steph Curry, and obviously, Klay Thompson, who's no longer there, but these last two pieces being there of an absolute dynasty, 4 championships, it kind of feels like that's the final lullaby we'll be saying tomorrow night.
I'll push back on that a little bit. I think they get one more year at least. I think they get one more year to try it out. I mean, they add Jimmy, and not a whole lot of people, myself included, thought that was going to be a real needle mover, but they looked like a much better team. Obviously, they get into the playoffs, and I think that alone allows them to, give it one more shot at least. Is Draymond a part of that picture or not? I don't know. I think that is a question mark. But Curry and Jimmy Butler, Kuminga, Podge, there's some nice pieces there. I think they give this thing at least one more year, and we'll see what happens next year.
So do you envision, I'll ask you one more question here before we try and get out of here, but do you envision maybe another big trade that the Warriors are going to make? I'm not talking Giannis level big.
Well, a report came out today that's a name that they're looking at. I don't know how much how much
are you going to give up?
That's a good question. You might have to give up Jimmy Butler, and that possibly, I don't know, unless I don't know. I haven't even looked into that a whole lot, but that was a report that came out. I don't know how legit it is or isn't. You know how rumors get flying around, but the names Warriors and Giannis are at least linked right now.
Outside of Giannis, though, would you envision this team making? I mean, where not in specific players, but do they need to go get big? Do they need to go get a wing? Should they go get another guard?
I think it's a big. They're very good playing small, and I think that is important. But I think in the West, I think about, okay, if you want to win the West, you're probably going to have to go through Denver next year. You're potentially at the Thunder again. The Clippers, Zubac had Minnesota with Gobert. Zubac with the Clippers had quietly a very, very good year. So at some point you're gonna have to face somebody with a very good big. I think you're gonna need that because you'll get dominated down low if you don't. I think that's the number one thing on the list for the Warriors next year. Even though they are good playing small, and in certain matchups that'll come in handy, and they can go to that if they need to. But there's going to be times where they need to go big, and I think that's important for them. And side note, I'm not going to bring it up. I was going to bring up the Lakers. They need to go big too, but everybody talks about the Lakers enough.
Yeah, good call there. I mean, a big last couple of days here for the NBA. Draft lottery. We'll have are we still go for video tomorrow on the NBA draft?
Yeah, we'll go tomorrow.
Lottery. We will have we had our reaction live stream that's still up if anyone wants to check that out. But tomorrow we will have more of an in-depth kind of analysis on the lottery, specifically the top 6. Notifications on to catch that. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram. We should be posting a lot over there the last few days, so that's only going to continue. Thank you so much. Listen, I'll say this. It's really been a lot of fun doing this the last few days. I want to thank everyone who's been coming out, supporting, watching, and tapping in. Rafe, any closing statements here? Closing arguments?
It's been a real fun playoffs. It's been tremendous. It looks like it's going to keep up, and it's not going to slow down really anytime soon. It's fun to watch basketball right now.
Wide open.
Wide open. Literally every team right now. I was going to say that earlier. I forgot to. Any team right now has a chance to win the championship, and it's very fun to watch. Outside
I think that's
outside of
so-
outside of injured teams, but
Right. We're kind of. I'm already mentally in the. I'm already in the mindset of the Timberwolves and Knicks are both moving
Right.
on. I'm not even thinking about the Warriors or Celtics anymore. But yeah, I think this thing's wide open right now, and that just makes the game that much more entertaining when you can have a team from Minnesota, a team from Oklahoma City, a team from Indiana competing for an NBA title.
and also pending.
You know-
I mean, it looks like it's going to happen, but the Celtics go down. This is how many? I don't remember how many years, but this is how many years now where there'll be a non back-to-back champion.
Yeah, the Lakers and never in our lifetime it's never happened. So Lakers and what the 99, 2000, and 2001, or was it
Possibly. Well, didn't the Warriors? Well, the Warriors won
2000,
back.
2001, 2002?
The Warriors won back-to-back. Did they not?
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure the Warriors did.
Well, no, the Heat in 14, Warriors in 15, Cavs in 6. Oh wait, would the Warriors won 17 and 18?
Possibly. I'm pretty sure the Warriors won.
I might be thinking
Hold
of a
on. Let me
three-peat.
look. Let me look. Hey, you
I might be thinking of a
three-peat.
three-peat. If it's any year, it was 17, 18. Okay. But that's good for the game, dude, because every year, listen, man, growing up watching Golden State, jeez, um, yeah, growing up watching Warriors, Cavs every single season, that was not enjoyable or fun for anyone involved. So yeah, it's great to see new teams involved. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Tomorrow's live stream is pending. Turn notifications on, and I guess that's how you know. We need to start posting. I mean, I posted a couple on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter as well. Maybe we'll start posting there a little bit more updates and such. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. It's Off the Tracks. Peace.